Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going on an incredible, inspiring journey into the human realities behind academic careers. If you've ever wondered how educators and researchers actually navigate the wonderfully complex world of applied linguistics, well, you're in the exact right place. We're diving deep into the Applied Linguistics Association of Australia's Workshop 4. And let me tell you, this isn't just some dry look at resumes. It's a raw, honest exploration of the non-linear, sometimes messy, but deeply rewarding career pathways of some truly incredible language educators. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by looking at how language shapes our worlds, then head inside the ALA workshop and navigate the academic maze. After that, we'll talk about the power of teaching, what it means to lower the drawbridge, and finally, why stepping back is sometimes the best way to go forward. Section 1. Language shapes our worlds. The real-world impact. Okay, let's dive into this. Before we even think about university lectures and publishing papers, we've got to talk about the real-world impact of language teaching. I want to anchor our explainer today with this fascinating map. It shows Dr. Carly Steele's teaching routes across remote Indigenous communities in Australia, including places like Punmu, out in the Pilbara. I mean, before she was a researcher, she was right there on the ground. Understanding how language shapes identity and education in these remote communities, that provides the absolutely crucial foundation for all the theoretical research that comes later. And you know, this grassroots foundation, it totally extends to the other speakers too. Professor Rhonda Oliver started her career teaching newly arrived migrant children and refugees. She found that helping marginalized students find their voice was just incredibly fulfilling. Similarly, Dr. Bic Nguyen found herself managing massive 50-student public school classrooms in Vietnam when she was only 22 years old. These intense human experiences literally form the bedrock of their academic drive. Section 2. Inside the ALA workshop, demystifying the field. So, you might be wondering, how exactly do you get from a remote classroom in the Pilbara or a packed high school in Vietnam to a university lecture? Well, that brings us to the workshop itself, held at Curtin University. Now, for anyone new to this ecosystem, let's quickly set the stage. Applied language? It's all about the practical application of linguistic theories to solve real-world language problems, like figuring out the best way to teach English to newly arrived refugees. And ALA stands for the Applied Languages Association of Australia. They're this vibrant, supportive community championing professionals and researchers in the field. Now, this workshop moved far beyond a simple how-to guide for polishing your CV. The core focus areas were incredibly grounded. They dug right into navigating massive structural hurdles. We're talking precarious short-term contracts, stressful visa situations for international scholars, and the very real challenge of balancing a PhD with parenthood. They also explored non-university careers and talked about the absolute necessity of community building. Section 3. Navigating the academic maze, nonlinear journeys. Let's be real. Academic pathways in applied linguistics are almost always a maze. They're rarely a straight line. This brings us back to Dr. Bic Nguyen. Her career timeline is beautifully bumpy. After that challenging start as a young teacher in Vietnam, she eventually earned a full PhD scholarship at Curtin University. But, spoiler alert, it wasn't glamorous. She relocated her family, and for 4 long years, they lived in a super cramped 7-person, 2-bedroom share house just to stretch her scholarship stipend. And get this, after her PhD, due to strict immigration policies, she didn't just step right into an academic job. Instead, she spent 10 years working as a high school teacher in Perth. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it perfectly visualizes that taking what feels like a massive detour, like Bijik returning to high school teaching for a whole decade after earning her PhD, can actually turn into an incredible professional strength. During that time, Bijik achieved the highest level of recognition in the Australian school system. She built these profound relationships with her students, which ultimately made her an absolutely exceptional candidate when she eventually returned to Curtin as a lecturer. As you navigate this maze, you're going to frequently encounter two critical terms, sessional academic and ECR, which stands for early career researcher. It's super common for ECRs to start out as sessional academics. Basically, this means they're employed on a casual contract basis, juggling enormous workloads. They're often literally running from university to university, marking papers and planning lessons, all while desperately trying to carve out time for their own independent research. It is a highly demanding, really tough phase of the journey. But here's the thing, getting a PhD absolutely does not lock you into just one path. Associate Professor Julian Chen highlighted that if the sessional academic grind just isn't for you, there are some amazing alternative avenues. He shared great stories about peers who found incredibly fulfilling, balanced careers doing things like working as a language testing specialist at the Educational Testing Service or becoming a technical director at an international partnership center like the Atlantic Global Studies Center, working directly with marginalized communities.
Section 4. The power of teaching, building credibility. Whether you decide to stay in academia or venture outside of it, your absolute secret weapon is the power of teaching. Grassroots teaching experience is completely vital. It gives you immediate, undeniable credibility when you're standing in front of university students who are training to be teachers themselves. Plus, it guarantees your research stays practical and actually impactful. In fact, both Carly and Bilk pointed out that they scored their university lectureships at institutions like James Cook and Curtin directly because of their extensive on-the-ground teaching backgrounds. It wasn't looked down upon at all. It was their biggest asset.
Section 5. Lowering the drawbridge, the value of community.
But look, having great experience isn't always enough to survive the academic maze. You really need a community. Check out this incredibly powerful quote from Professor Rhonda Oliver. A senior colleague once told her, "You can be a drawbridge down and bring people with you, or you can pull the drawbridge up and be the only person in there on their own." And honestly, that is the true value of joining an organization like ALA. It's about finding those senior academics who actively leave their drawbridges down for junior colleagues. The contrast here is just staggering. An isolated academic struggles completely alone against institutional hurdles, visas, and precarious contracts with very few collaborative opportunities. But a community member? They're connected. For example, because Rhonda left her drawbridge down, she hired Bick for small research assistant jobs when Bick was really struggling financially. That early mentorship completely blossomed, and it helped Bick co-publish 13 high-quality papers in just a year and a half after becoming an ongoing academic. Now that is the power of a supportive community. Section 6. Stepping back to go forward. Key takeaways.
So what does this all mean? The crucial point is that progress in applied linguistics requires immense flexibility, vulnerability, and a willingness to embrace the unconventional. Let's recap some of the most relatable human moments from the workshop. First, you've got to embrace the messy realities. Rhonda talked about literally lying on the floor in her office editing evaluation reports just a week before giving birth. Second, say yes to those unexpected small opportunities. Even if it only pays a little bit initially, it can build your network. And third, don't fear a strategic step back. Rhonda actually accepted a demotion from full professor to associate professor to join Curtin University simply because it offered a vastly better, more supportive research environment. It was a step back that allowed her to take 2 massive steps forward.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. If you're a postgraduate student, an early career researcher, or a language teacher navigating this complex maze, ask yourself, how will you lower the drawbridge for others? How will you use your own unique, messy, beautiful career journey to shape the future of language education? Because remember, whether you are teaching out in the remote Pilbara supporting newly arrived migrants or running a massive university lecture, sometimes you really must step back to go forward. Thank you so much for joining me on this Explainer Today, focused learners. I hope this dive into the ALAA workshop has inspired you to embrace your own non-linear path and seek out the communities that will help you thrive. Keep learning, keep sharing, and I'll see you next time.